It's time we spoke about the unsung heroes after a weekend where some of the Premier League big boys kind of misfired. We're going to take a look at some of the names that you haven't been focusing on, but maybe you should start to focus on. And actually, maybe I should have focused on as well, because some of you guys have been calling it out. So much to talk about. Arsenal, how Saka's a big boy now. Talking about Leeds United's performance, Aston Villa's performance, how we're seeing the pitter-patter of Potter, and how Liverpool have solved their problems. Speaking of unsung heroes, you guys, do us a favour. Be an unsung hero today. You know, it's Monday. You're ready to dominate. I know you are. Get out there. Make some moments. But also, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Let's dive into this, starting off with how Liverpool solved those problems and an unsung hero in that side yesterday. Liverpool 1, Man City 0. The XG on this one, 2.04 to 0.94 for Man City. Pretty surprising there. So, how did Liverpool fix their problems? So far this season, we've seen that the right-back area has been a source of joy for many of Liverpool's opponents. However, in this game, Klopp was able to prevent Man City from having any joy down that right-hand side, despite the recent form of Phil Foden on the left. Now, I must say, if you want a more in-depth, detailed reaction to the Liverpool game and focusing in particular on the pressing system of Liverpool, I did a match reaction straight after the game. And again, another reason to subscribe and hit the notification bell is that you don't want to miss those, and I was answering your questions as well. It's just bloody good fun. So get involved and go check that out. So how did they do it? In this section of the Fallout, we're going to look at how Klopp found the balance that this team has been craving in the last few weeks, and why, first unsung hero coming up, Harvey Elliot was pivotal in that solution. Now, in terms of broad strokes of Harvey Elliot, I think going forward, I was watching the game and I was thinking, this is one where, wow, this guy is so mature in terms of his footballing intelligence, both with and without the ball, which we'll dive into in just a second. But also I think the thing to focus on is that maybe in those kind of flashpoint moments that you remember, he's not going to make the best decision just yet. And that's because he's so young. But playing these games, these are classic affairs, you know, the Man City, Liverpool games. You know, we talk about Man United, Arsenal back in the day. These are those games. And so for him to be taking part in those games is huge. And he deserves to be the first of this unsung heroes video that we're going to go talk about today. Not only was his performance excellent against Man City, but he also played a big role in the whole tactical approach of Liverpool as they beat Pep's side. Now, with Liverpool setting up with what was effectively a 4-4-2, it meant that Elliot found himself playing as a right-sided midfielder in this match, which he has done previously, but the role was different this time. Elliot offered a complete balance both in and out of possession in this match. And you could see here from his heat map that he spent a lot of time protecting Milner when Man City had the ball in the defensive third. He also had the presence of mind to see that he held that width well when attacking, which allowed obviously Salah to not have to go over to those channels too much and be such a threat in between those Nathan Ake and Diaz. Now, this season, Liverpool have really struggled with balance as they've tested out this 4-3-3, the 4-2-4, which is also a 4-2-3-1, isn't it? And however, both of those formations saw Liverpool overexposed at the back, especially right back, because Salah was usually in an advanced high position. And I think when the press is at its best, and in previous years, that's been okay, but teams are improving. And in particular, this might not work against all teams, but it will make you a little bit more sturdy, because when teams play on the counter-attack, you have to stop the ball getting into those areas. And with Elliot's application and how he coped in terms of awareness with the tactical instructions that were delivered to him, it meant that he would often track back and give Milner a helping hand when the ball was funneled down the Man City right. The protection that Elliot gave Milner is very, very promising for when Trent comes back actually into the side, because Trent has desperately been needing some help this season. That box, of course, remained in the centre of midfield, and with Elliot not having any central midfield duties, it allowed him to sort of peel wide in possession, which gave him more time to make decisions whilst on the ball. And Elliot made 5 passes into the final third in this match and was crucial in unlocking Salah. Man City stuck to the game plan that's been working for them most of the season. I mean, pretty well as well, right? There was one slight tweak, with KDB playing more as a sort of right winger in this match as opposed to his usual sort of more central 10 position. I guess he drifts over to that right, of course. And I thought this took away a lot of his threat in picking up the balls in the half spaces, as it was much easier for Robertson to deal with him with no real wide presence after Cancelo. And in particular, I thought, as I said in that match reaction yesterday, it's actually the work of Jota and Thiago that kind of pushed De Bruyne out to the right a lot of the time because he was trying to find a sort of a half space further and further wide to get himself on the ball because the central area was so congested, because in front of those two, of course, you had Firmino stopping those passing lanes brilliantly as well. Aston Villa 0, Chelsea 2. The XG in this one, 1.79 to 0.87. That does tell a huge story. Aston Villa were good in this game. Chelsea were pretty poor. Let's start off with Chelsea. Graham Potter and Mason Mount seem to be really on the same page here. We said on this show last week that Mason Mount is going to be scoring goals and going to be really, really effective. So we could really see Mason Mount, who people sort of feel funny about sometimes. You could see him exploding in terms of output over the next few weeks. And he scored his first and second goals of the season. Yes, the first goal in particular, I mean, both goals really were mistakes by Martinez. And Mings in particular, I don't know what happened with Mings. There's the sun in his eyes or something. But the presence of mind is great. And it's really interesting the role that he's taking up here. And once again, he's becoming an instrumental player for a new manager at Chelsea. He was instrumental all over the pitch in this match, and he continued to have that free role under Graham Potter. However, Chelsea weren't great in this match, and it was two individual errors, as I said, Tyrone Mings and Emi Martinez, that were the cause of both of Chelsea's goals. Let's talk about our second unsung hero, Kepa Arrizabalaga. Kepa was once a castaway at Chelsea and looks set to leave in the summer. However, under Potter, he could become I can't believe I'm even saying this, he could become the number one again. Number one goalkeeper, because he's playing so well, and he was outstanding in this game. You think of the system that Potter wants to play at Chelsea, I think Kepa could become the goalkeeper we thought he'd be when he arrived, or certainly Chelsea thought with the money that they spent for him. Not only did he make 7 brilliant saves in this match, he was also very tidy in possession, making 28 of his 36 passes accurately and being pretty press resistant when needed as well. Another unsung hero that I wasn't talking about, and actually I sort of told off my chat, and if that was you, I hold my hands up. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, RLC, is making himself undroppable for Potter. Players suit managers sometimes, right? And he is making himself undroppable, as I said, for Potter, because he has such a varied skill set. It allows Potter to, again, be malleable with his systems and structures. And in this game, he was deployed as a centre midfielder, but he also had defensive duties at right wing-back position at different times. You can see here from his heat map, it shows how flexible his role is in allowing midfield dominance whilst also covering that right wing-back position. And as I said, I've got to hold my hands up. Tactically keen Chelsea fans have been banging the RLC drum for a while this season, and under Potter, it's only a matter of time that he starts to get that mainstream praise. But remember where you heard it, not first, but first after you guys called it on the fallout. That's right. Aston Villa were actually really good in this match, and unfortunately they demonstrated the characteristics of a side playing without confidence. For example, Ollie Watkins, he was good in chance creation and build-up play as well when coming in from the left, but ultimately he had 3 chances and all of them were wildly off the mark. I think he personified Villa's afternoon, in which they played some good stuff, but when it comes down to it, lapses of judgment and concentration have been the factor that have let them down in this game. But I think one where, when it comes to Gerrard, this is such a huge week for him, the next couple of games, because there have been good performances at Man City, against Chelsea. But if you're not getting the points elsewhere, you're going to get a lot of heat. What I did like was the chance creation. There was a lot of dynamism about the team as well. And I think if they can continue in this vein and put together back-to-back performances like that, they'll get that little bit of luck and they'll get the chances. I mean, Chelsea were there for the taking in this match, as they were way off the mark themselves. But it looks like Villa are so low on confidence that they lack the belief to really punish a team. Very similar to Everton last season. In my opinion, the only reason why Gerrard's still in the job is probably down to the fact that they've been sort of injury plagued in defence this season, but also because it's Steven Gerrard. That said, they are trending in the right direction in terms of being a little bit more solid defensively. Again, these 2 goals are down to huge, terrible mistakes. So put it all together in one performance, that will relieve a lot of pressure and they can start to move in the right direction. I'm not Gerrard out yet. I know a lot of Aston Villa fans are. Let me know in the comments down below. Do you see this turning in the right direction, or is it too late for him? Tottenham 2, Everton 0. The XG 2.24 for Tottenham, 0.43 for Everton. 3-5-2 is the answer for Spurs. We've spoken about it a couple of times. Flav was the first to say it in terms of the Tottenham fans that I know. Obviously, we do the podcast every single week. If you don't know about that, go check it out. This match was heading for a stalemate until Antonio Conte made quite an inspired change, to be honest. When Spurs were playing a 3-4-3 with Richarlison, Kane and Son in attack, Everton were having joy in the midfield when it came to sort of cutting up passing lanes and ultimately making the game really, really difficult, make it stop-start, which is what was going to be their aim in terms of stopping the rhythm of Spurs going forward. However, with Richarlison coming off injured in the 52nd minute, Conte made the bold move in subbing on Basuma. This allowed Spurs to play 3-5-2, which meant that both Højbjerg and Bentancur were able to move into more advanced positions. Now, is this going to work every single time? And are they still missing a player to play in those roles? Possibly. But Højbjerg is, he's very complete and they're both very technically impressive as well. Not only were these two able to take up more advanced positions, but it also allowed Perisic and Doherty at times to receive the ball higher up the pitch because of the defensive blanket that Basuma offered in transition. So here we can see Højbjerg and Bentancur's heat max from the 60th minute onwards against Everton. And you can see here that the pair were able to move into wider positions on the ball, which made the pitch a lot bigger and it allowed them to play around the Everton midfield. They looked miles better for it. And I think in terms of those front players, it might allow them to sort of save them that little bit more and allow those players like Richarlison or Son have that little bit more impact with Champions League and Premier League games back to back, of course. From an Everton perspective, not much really to note. They played exactly as everyone expected them to. Going 1-0 down was the worst thing that could have happened. Obviously, that's the worst thing that can happen in any game, but you know what I'm saying, because it meant the impetus was on Everton. And is that going to be the problem for them this season? Because I think they're very solid. And that might mean that they might get a few points against some of these better sides. But if they do go behind, you then wonder, because when they do push forward, they then, of course, leave space in behind. The positive for Everton is that DCL is looking sharper and fitter as the weeks go by, which means that this style becomes a lot more viable. Maupay, he's a good workhorse for Everton, but with Everton looking to counter down the flanks and cross balls into the box, it doesn't really suit him as a player. With DCL on the side, it could take Everton up a level, and they really could get the best out of their wingers in the process. Leeds 0, Arsenal 1. The XG 1.86 to an impressive Leeds United side against 0.54 for Leeds. Arsenal winning ugly. This is important. This will be contradictory to what I generally say when it comes to be about performance. But the thing that's important here is that Arsenal have been playing at 100% so far this season, and it's been a joy to watch, right? But the question surrounding them has always been, what if they have an off day? Can they still sort of get over the line? Is this sustainable? And generally, we all think that they will fall off a little bit. And this performance wasn't great, but it was an away performance and they got the victory. And it was an off day. And if the performances continue like this, then you're trending in the wrong direction. But for one performance, I think this is actually a sign that Arsenal have that little bit of mettle that they need. And importantly, Saka is a big boy now. He went into his wardrobe on the morning before the match. He put on his big boy pants and he said, I'm going to step up for the guys because we're struggling a little bit here. He put in another big performance against Leeds. In this match, Leeds had 3 big chances to Arsenal's 1 and even had a penalty, which of course they didn't convert. The XG from this match tells a story of how Arsenal didn't have it all their own way for one of the first times this season. However, Saka came to save the day. Scored an absolute, honestly, it's a beautiful goal. It's a bit like, it's like Ryan Giggs' goal in the semi-final against Arsenal, but on the other side, just absolutely rockets it in. Saka is truly becoming a big game player this season, and he has a maturity to his game that, you forget the guy's only 21 years old. This is something that pros often never achieve. This is important, right? Saka's goal was worth 0.09 XG. And people who get angry about me talking about XG a lot, first of all, why are you watching this? Second of all, it's just a bit of a barometer for how difficult these chances are and how a team is playing, right? 0.09 XG suggests to me that this is one hell of a difficult goal to take. And he goes and takes it, right? What made it even more impressive is the fact that he scores it with his weaker right foot. Amazing. In one swing of his right leg, it shows how much confidence he's currently playing with, and to try these sort of things in the first place, and he is reaping the benefits of that. And of course, Arsenal are as well. So why is winning ugly important for Arsenal? This was only the second time this season where Arsenal's opponents have created more XG than them this season. And the other time was that 3-1 loss to Man United. So for Arsenal to win this match, despite not being their usual selves, this match is a big, big positive in their title ambitions. And another factor that not many have touched on, actually, is the fact that they did it without Zinchenko or Tierney starting. Arsenal tactics for so long have revolved around the dynamism that they're able to get out of the left-back position from either of these two guys. However, even without them in the team, they were able to overcome it with others stepping in, such as Odegaard and Saka on that right-hand side. Arsenal have real mettle this year. Leeds United, let's talk about them, of course. Leeds were excellent in this match, really, really strong. And there's been a bit of heat on Jesse Marsch, but Jesse Marsch spoke about the performances leading to points. And for a mid-table team, which is what they want to be this year, that's what it has to come down to. And this is an Arsenal team that have made so many people look average, and they looked average in this game. They were very unlucky to not win this one. Leeds had everything in this match apart from the final 5% that's needed to finish chances. They had a total of 16 shots, but only managed to get 4 of them on target. Patrick Bamford was probably the one to blame, of course, for this. He had 3 big chances in the game, one of which was, of course, a penalty, and it totaled an XG of 1.1, and he failed to convert any of them. So, look, a bad day at the office for him, but he did have a goal that was disallowed, and that was a good finish. So I think the focus needs to be on that. The important thing is that they've got him as a striker. The concern is that one, he's often injured. Second of all, his form isn't totally brilliant right now. So with that in mind, big question for Leeds United fans, is that the priority in the January transfer window? Do you need to go and get yourself out another striker as soon as possible? Fulham 2, Bournemouth 2, great game this one, and the XG 2.13 to 1.05, and Bournemouth are a breath of fresh air. Come on, Bournemouth. Keep going, guys. Keep going, lads. Hang in there. This was truly a match for the unsung heroes. Bournemouth continue to impress, and they are still undefeated versus sides outside of the greedy 6. Bournemouth, for me, are an absolute breath of fresh air in how they are applying themselves this season with little investment in the window, and they are maximising every last drop of ability out of the squad that got them up and are doing it to great success. Let's talk about another unsung hero, Dominic Solanke. I told you he was good enough. He's definitely a Premier League striker. And first things first, we have to start respecting this guy. Have to. Mitrovic, who also scored in this game, has been grabbing headlines so far this season as the striker making waves coming up from the Championship. However, Solanke was brilliant in this game and led the line perfectly for Bournemouth. The forward now has 2 goals and 3 assists in only 7 starts this campaign. He's going under the radar a lot this season, as are Bournemouth. What I enjoy about Solanke is that he makes himself available in a lot of different areas for this side, helping the team get up the pitch, being that focal point in attack. And his heat map here shows how he's able to hold up the ball in the defensive half, but is also adept at working the channels and always offering a forward option for his teammates, which goes a long way in them being able to move the ball up the field directly when they attack. For Fulham and for most people's FPL teams this year, an unsung hero has to be Andreas Perreira. Perreira is definitely an unsung hero this season. He's come from Man United, and I was concerned because when you have a player that comes from one of those huge clubs, they sometimes don't have the hunger for it. It really does come down to their personality, but he's really enjoying himself there, and he's absolutely thriving under Silva. He was creatively excellent and has been all season. In this match in particular, 3 key passes, 3 successful crosses, 3 accurate long balls, 4 passes into the final third as well. He's only dispossessed twice as well, so you can kind of trust him with the ball to relieve pressure once you get it to him. And Fulham generally also deserve a lot of credit this season for their front-footed approach. Fulham have now scored 16 goals this season, which is more than 11 other teams in the division. They also currently sit 11th in the league. I think everyone had them down as 20th and 19th this season, so huge positives for teams coming up from the Championship that you can go into the league and play your way and pick up points, and the positives don't stop there. They have Harry Wilson, who was pivotal in their attack last season, returning from injury. It's a very, very exciting time to be a Fulham fan. Manchester United 0, Newcastle 0, 0.9 to 0.86 XG in this. And what I want to talk about is how Newcastle United are becoming the English Atletico Madrid. Now, Newcastle and Eddie Howe were successful in their attempts in a big way to frustrate Manchester United in this game. And before analysing anything, I think we need to point out this, keep an eye on this, how much Eddie Howe has taken from his time shadowing Diego Simeone at Atletico Madrid. He wasn't known for that at Bournemouth. They were a bit flimsy. It was about outscoring the opposition. But with this Newcastle side, I think that they are one of the tightest, one of the smartest defences in the league this season. And it's no fluke. Eddie Howe has made his team incredibly difficult to break down by utilising pairings all over the pitch, but most specifically in wide areas. This is something that Simeone has been doing for years at Atleti. We can see in the average positions here how Dan Burn, number 33, and Jacob Murphy, number 23, paired up on the left-hand side to sort of get at Anthony and Dalot and to limit their time on the ball. We can also see it on the opposing flank with Trippier and Longstaff doubling up to negate the half space as well. So the end result of this was ultimately a frustrating afternoon for Manchester United, who struggled to create any real chances apart from Fred's miss and Rashford's late chance, keeping Ronaldo really quiet. As we can see here in his heat map, Newcastle were able to keep Ronaldo super quiet in this match by not allowing him to receive the ball centrally or in the box for the most part. The end result of this was a miserable afternoon for the forward, as he only mustered one shot, 0.08 XG, and was subbed off in the 72nd minute. He had zero influence in this match, whereas a few seasons ago, this is the type of match which he probably would have won himself. The question is, for Man United fans, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, is this down to the system not finding those, getting to the byline, getting those crosses in as you've got two wingers who want to kind of come back and start again? Or is it down to Ronaldo himself? Let me know in those comments down there below. Crucially, I will be live tomorrow talking about my final England squad and asking you guys to convince me about some outside shouts who should be in there. If you want to get involved in that, make sure you hit the notification bell and join the JLA, the Allcott Ultras, in my Discord server. There's a link in the description right now. Go and click on it. There's lovely people in that Discord server. Be a part of the community.